I watched my wife die on a screen while 10,000 strangers cheered in the chat. They voted on how she'd go, bullet, blade, or slow. The live stream counter hit 0, and her scream cut through my headphones like glass through skin. I'm a Black Ops operative who's ended wars in silence, but I couldn't stop 3 men in masks from executing the only person I ever loved. And they made sure I saw every second. Hit like, subscribe for more betrayal stories, and comment your city or country. I never told Eliza what I really did for a living. She thought I worked in logistics for a private defense contractor. Boring spreadsheets, occasional travel, nothing glamorous. That was the cover. The truth? I spent 15 years in the shadows, taking out targets governments couldn't touch, dismantling cartels, erasing threats before they became headlines. But I walked away from all that 3 years ago. I wanted a normal life. I wanted her. We lived in a quiet suburb outside Denver. White fence, 2-car garage, a golden retriever named Ryder. Eliza taught 3rd grade. She made lasagna every Thursday. We talked about kids, about growing old, about things that felt impossible when I was overseas with a rifle in my hands. That morning, the last morning, I was in the garage fixing the lawnmower. She came out with coffee, kissed my forehead, and said, "Stay home today. Let's just be lazy." I laughed, told her I had errands. I'd be back by lunch. I never saw her alive again. It was 4:47 p.m. when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. No caller ID. Just a text. "You should have stayed retired, Adrian." Then a link. My instincts kicked in. Don't click unknown links. But something in my gut twisted. I opened it. The page loaded slow. A black screen. Then a video player. A live counter in the corner. 9,847 viewers. And then I saw her. Eliza, tied to a metal chair in a concrete room. Duct tape over her mouth. Her eyes wide, wet with tears. Blood on her cheek. 3 men in black masks standing behind her, holding rifles. The chat exploded. "She's hot. Do her slow. Bullet to the head, quick and clean. Make her beg first, LOL." I couldn't breathe. My hands shook so hard I almost dropped the phone. I tried to speak. Nothing came out. One of the masked men stepped forward, looked directly into the camera, and spoke in accented English. "Adrian Cole, you killed my brothers. You burned our empire. You thought you could just walk away and play house." He leaned closer to Eliza, stroked her hair. She flinched. "Now you watch her pay, and the world watches with you." The chat lit up. The viewer count climbed. 9,982, 10,013, 10,147. I screamed into the phone. "I'll kill you. I'll find you an aisle." But they couldn't hear me. It was one way. I was just another viewer. Helpless. The man raised his pistol. The chat voted in real time. Majority rules. She looked at the camera. At me. She mouthed 3 words. "I love you." The gunshot was so loud it distorted the audio. Her head snapped back. The screen went black. The chat erupted in emojis. Applause. Laughter. The counter hit 10,249 viewers before the stream ended. I don't remember falling to my knees. I don't remember throwing the phone across the garage. I don't remember Ryder whimpering beside me or the neighbor knocking on the door asking if I was okay. All I remember is the sound. That gunshot. Over and over in my skull. And the number. 10,249. 10,000 people watched my wife die. They laughed. They voted. They enjoyed it. I sat there on the cold concrete floor for 2 hours, staring at nothing. My phone was shattered against the wall, but it didn't matter. I already knew what I had to do. I stood up, walked into the house, went to the bedroom, pulled up the loose floorboard under the bed. Inside, 3 burner phones, 2 fake passports, $40,000 in cash, and a Glock 19 I swore I'd never touch again. I powered on the first burner. Sent a message to a contact I hadn't used in 3 years. "I need everything. Now." The response came in seconds. "You sure? Once you go back, you can't stop." I typed 1 word. Confirmed. Then I sat on the edge of our bed. The bed where she used to read before falling asleep. The bed where we planned our future, and I made a promise. Not to her ghost, not to her memory, to myself. I wasn't going to kill 3 men. I was going to kill 10,249, starting with the ones who pulled the trigger, and ending with every single person who watched. Because if you watched her die and did nothing, you're guilty, and I was coming for every last one of them. The walls felt like they were closing in. Grief made my vision blur, but rage sharpened my instincts. I couldn't save Eliza, but I could make sure every second of their cruelty was accounted for. There'd be no peace until I knew who watched, who paid, who typed "do it slow." I couldn't even remember the last time I slept. All I saw was the chat, scrolling, her eyes pleading for me through the glass. I put on my old field jacket, stiff from years of sweat, with a faded patch where the flag used to be. In the side pocket, I found a bent security badge from my last op and a Polaroid of Eliza on our wedding day. I tucked the photo into my wallet and set it against the bedside lamp. Even if the house became a war zone, she'd still be the last thing I saw before I left and the first thing when I came back. Before dawn broke, I was already working. I wasn't alone for long. My burner phone buzzed with a blocked number. I answered, waiting for silence. "Adrian." A voice said, low, careful, the edge of a European accent. "Walk away. If you chase this, you'll burn." It was my old handler, Oliver, a man whose job it was to make monsters like me disappear if we became inconvenient. I couldn't even muster anger. They murdered her in front of the world. They wanted me to watch. There are protocols. Evidence will be gathered. People will be. They want me to suffer, Oliver. Doesn't that break your precious protocols? The call ended with a click. I knew the warning was my only favor. If I went too far, nobody would pull me out. Nobody would care. I didn't care. I booted my old laptop, paranoid model, air-gapped, firewalled, the kind meant to disappear if authorities stormed the house. I logged into a shadow forum using a string of 16 randomized characters only I knew. The stream archive was already everywhere. Clips, screen grabs, digital morbid souvenirs trading for cryptocurrency. The police had no chance. But I did. I dug into the metadata stamped in the video, a watermark in the pixel bleed, re-encoding lag in the 3rd minute, a missed frame near the gunshot. Patterns. Signatures. It was the mark of the Serpiente Roja, the Red Serpent Cartel. Mexico City-based, splintered after an American-led raid 6 years ago. 6 years ago, I led that raid. Dominic Vargas, a ghost with 1 million lives, was the boss. I torched his files, burned his warehouses, locked away his lieutenants. And just before my handler pulled me out, I watched an explosion on grainy satellite feed, convinced I'd killed the kingpin himself. I was wrong. My fingers shook as I messaged the only tech I'd ever trusted with my life. Quinn, the agency's former black hat contractor. She could make a computer talk even after being run over twice. She replied in seconds, already ahead of me. Encrypted stream. Peer-to-peer overlay. But you can trace user registry. She sent me a file, raw, indecipherable to most. But I'd learned to read digital trails like blood spatter. IP addresses. Countries. Timestamps. Some viewers only glimpsed for seconds, curiosity. Others watched the entire ordeal. Quinn messaged again. Some accounts dropped money for voting. Interactive torture elements. Sick world, Adrian. Cartel didn't do this alone. Her contacts in the deep web confirmed. This was no one-off. A syndicate ran pay-per-view executions. Cartels, warlords, and thrill-seekers. I made my intention clear. Find them all. Trace payments. Build a list. She hesitated, finally typing. If you go after them, you'll be hunted. Cartel, feds, everyone. I sent her a recorded vow. They made me an executioner the minute they streamed her death. The house felt colder. I wiped sleep from my eyes. 40 hours since I last dozed, and exhaustion stung every muscle. I forced myself to relive the last days. Eliza's gentle hum from the kitchen, the way she ran her thumb over her wedding band, her laughter echoing down the hall, all replaced now with hollow silence and the hum of hard drives. The phone buzzed, a local number. I answered cautiously. "This is Detective Logan," the voice announced. Cool, skeptical, but not unkind. "We heard there was a home invasion here. You want to tell me what really happened?" "No home invasion. You have any leads?" He paused. "We traced a live stream to your address. Don't go anywhere. We need a full statement." I hung up before he could say more. I stared at the wall, adrenaline thrumming. I couldn't trust anyone. My mission had to stay ahead of the law and outside of their rules. I kept digging. Each IP address was a thread, every cryptocurrency wallet a starting point. Quinn and I built the database piece by piece. Each name that surfaced felt like a slap. Teachers, suburban fathers, teens, men and women from every continent. Some chatted, some paid, some just watched. That's when I found one account, flagged admin, constantly monitoring the watcher count, approving votes, offering rewards. A cartel henchman, no doubt. His location? A safe house I recognized from agency dossiers. He was still local, likely tasked with running the U.S. branch. My revenge list started with him. But something gnawed at me. Eliza's final day. They'd stalked her for weeks. I found a grainy photo in cartel forums. Her at the park, feeding pigeons, 2 men in the background, camera ready. I felt the world tilt beneath me. Their scope had always been broader than I'd understood. I didn't sleep. Couldn't. I scrawled a promise on the back of the wedding photo. Find them all. Make them remember her name. And as dawn bled gray into the windows, I realized how far I was willing to go. This wasn't just about vengeance. It was about reclaiming the story of the woman those monsters tried to erase. By the 48th hour, my eyes burned with grief and intent. The list was growing. Hundreds of IPs linked to the cartel, thousands to civilians, all complicit, all guilty. Quinn unlocked a hidden drive in the stream. Private, high-spending viewers, more connection to organized crime. The judiciary, business tycoons. Each line showed me the truth. This was no crime of passion. This was a calculated message. Vargas hadn't just survived, he evolved. They wanted me to know I'd lost everything because of justice I once served. That realization crushed me, but it didn't suffocate my resolve. There would be no more running, no requests for mercy. I'd give the authorities my evidence, but only after every watcher, every handler, every monster who typed applause as my world burned had come to fear the dark. And as the city woke and the sirens howled for someone else, I stared down the full list for the first time. 10,000 names. Faces. Complicit. Cowardly. Some were just bored. A few had paid to decide her fate. Every single one would know a reckoning. I made a vow into the silence, my voice nearly gone. If you watched her last moment, you watched your last sunrise. I couldn't stop staring at the name on my screen, Dominic Vargas. 6 years ago, I watched satellite footage of his compound collapse into flames. The agency wrote him off as dead. Case closed. Mission accomplished. But the stream had his fingerprints all over it. The style, the theatrics, the cruelty designed specifically to hurt me. He wasn't just alive. He'd been waiting. I pulled files from an encrypted drive buried in my closet. Mission reports, surveillance photos, interrogation transcripts. Vargas had built an empire on fear. He didn't just run drugs. He ran a network of enforcers who eliminated rivals in the most public, brutal ways possible. Beheadings on highways. Bodies hung from overpasses. Messages written in blood. And I had dismantled all of it in one coordinated strike. Except I hadn't. Not completely. The more I dug, the clearer it became. Vargas survived because someone tipped him off. Someone inside the agency. He escaped minutes before we breached his compound. We killed his lieutenants, burned his infrastructure, but the head of the snake slithered away. And now he'd come back for me. Quinn sent me a new message at 3 a.m., found the platform. It's called Nightfall Network. Encrypted peer-to-peer. Hosted on servers in Belarus. Routed through 3 different countries. No central hub. Designed to be untraceable. I typed back, "Can you crack it?" Her reply came fast. "Already in." "But Adrian, this isn't just cartel work. This is professional. Military-grade encryption. Whoever set this up had serious resources." That stopped me cold. Cartels didn't operate like this. They were brutal, but sloppy. This was organized. Calculated. Someone with tech skills and deep pockets was backing Vargas. Quinn sent another file, a breakdown of payment records. Viewers paid in cryptocurrency to unlock interactive features. Vote on the method. Send messages to the victim. Request camera angles. The prices range from $5 to $5,000. My stomach turned. This wasn't just a revenge execution. It was entertainment. "Can you trace the payments?" I asked. "Some. Most are laundered through exchanges, but a few got lazy. I've got about 40 names so far. Mostly in the US and Europe. One in Australia. Send them to me." "Adrian, what are you planning?" I didn't answer. I couldn't. Because I didn't know yet how far I was willing to go. I decided to reach out to someone I swore I'd never contact again. Grant Holloway, a former CIA analyst who'd worked with me on the Vargas takedown. He'd been the one feeding me intel, coordinating strikes, running interference with the agency. If anyone knew how Vargas survived, it was him. I called from a burner phone. He answered on the 3rd ring, his voice rough with sleep. "Who is this?" "It's Adrian." Silence. Then a sharp exhale. "You've got to be kidding me. Do you have any idea how much trouble you're in right now?" "Vargas is alive." Another pause. Longer this time. "I know." My blood went cold. "You know?" "We've had chatter for 2 years. Low-level intel. Nothing confirmed. He's been operating in the shadows, small ops, underground networks. We flagged it, but no one wanted to reopen that file. Too messy. Too political. They killed my wife, Grant. Streamed it to 10,000 people. And you knew he was out there?" I didn't know it was him until yesterday. The stream hit our radar, but by the time we traced it back, it was already over. "Adrian, listen to me. You need to stand down. Let us handle this." I hung up. He called back immediately. I didn't answer. 3 more calls. Then a text. "Don't do this. You'll destroy yourself." I deleted the message and threw the phone in a drawer. Quinn pinged me again with an update. She'd identified the first target, a cartel enforcer named Julian Reyes, one of Vargas's top lieutenants. He was operating out of a safe house in Albuquerque, running the U.S. side of Nightfall Network. He'd been the one monitoring the stream, approving votes, collecting payments. She sent me his address, his daily routine, even his car registration. "Be careful," she typed. "He's not alone. 3 guards minimum. Armed." I didn't care. I needed answers. And Julian was going to give them to me. I drove through the night, 8 hours straight, no stops. By the time I reached Albuquerque, the sun was bleeding orange across the desert. The safe house was a single-story stucco building on the edge of town, surrounded by chain-link fence and dead grass. 2 cars parked out front, a black SUV and a rusted pickup. I watched from a distance, mapping exits, counting shadows through the windows. 3 men, just like Quinn said. Julian was the one in the kitchen, smoking a cigarette, laughing into his phone. I waited until nightfall. Then I moved. The fence was easy, bolt cutters from the trunk. I slipped through the yard, keeping low, staying in the shadows. The back door had a cheap lock. I picked it in under 30 seconds. Inside, the house smelled like stale beer and gunpowder. I moved through the hallway, my Glock drawn, every nerve on fire. Voices drifted from the living room. 2 guards playing cards, arguing over a bad hand. I avoided them, headed straight for the kitchen. Julian was still on his phone, back turned, oblivious. I pressed the barrel of my gun against the base of his skull. "Hang up." He froze. Slowly, he lowered the phone and ended the call. Hands on the table. "Don't move. Don't scream." He obeyed, his breathing shallow. "Who are you?" You watched my wife die? You made money off it. Recognition flickered in his eyes. Then fear. Look, man, I just run the platform. I don't choose who. Where's Vargas? I don't know. I swear. He doesn't tell us. He moves every few weeks. Different countries. Different names. I press the gun harder. You're lying. I'm not. He contacts us through encrypted channels. We never meet face to face. I don't even know what he looks like anymore. I believed him. He was too scared to lie. But that didn't make him innocent. Tell me about Nightfall Network. Who runs it? Who's funding it? Julian hesitated. I cocked the hammer. He flinched. Okay. There's a guy, goes by the name Victor Hale. Tech billionaire. Made his money in Silicon Valley, but he got bored. Started funding darker stuff. Execution streams, torture feeds, underground fights. Nightfall is his biggest project. Vargas just provides the content. Victor Hale. The name burned itself into my mind. Where do I find him? He's untouchable, man. Private island, armed security, lawyers on speed dial. You'll never get close. I'll figure it out. I pulled the gun away. Julian exhaled in relief, until I brought the butt of the weapon down on the back of his head. He crumpled to the floor, unconscious. I searched the house, laptops, hard drives, documents. I took everything. The guards in the living room never heard a thing. Back in my car, I sat in the dark, hands shaking. I'd crossed the line tonight. Assault, breaking and entering, theft. If I got caught, I'd go to prison. But I didn't care, because now I had a name, a target, someone higher up the chain, and I was going to burn them all down. I spent the next 3 days holed up in a motel outside Santa Fe, surrounded by stolen hard drives, laptops, and stacks of printed documents. The room smelled like burnt coffee and sweat. I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Eliza's face on that screen, her silent plea for help I couldn't give. Quinn worked around the clock, breaking through encryption layers, tracing cryptocurrency wallets, cross-referencing IP addresses with real identities. The list grew longer every hour. 10,247 viewers. We'd confirmed identities for 2,831 of them so far. The breakdown made my stomach turn. Cartel operatives, 87. Criminal networks across South America, Eastern Europe, Southeast Asia. These were professionals, enforcers, traffickers, killers. They watched because it was business, a demonstration of power. But the rest? Ordinary people. A high school teacher in Ohio, a retired banker in London, a college student in Tokyo, a stay-at-home mother in Sydney. People who stumbled onto the stream through dark web forums, curious, bored, looking for something taboo. Some watched for 30 seconds before clicking away. Others stayed until the end. And 214 of them paid extra to vote. Those names went to the top of my list. I started with the cartel members. They were easier to justify, easier to rationalize. These weren't innocent bystanders. They were part of the machine that murdered Eliza. The first was a lieutenant named Blake Torres, operating out of El Paso. He ran guns across the border, laundered money through car dealerships, and apparently enjoyed watching executions in his spare time. Quinn found his address in 20 minutes. I drove through the night, parked 3 blocks away, and waited. He lived in a gated community, high walls, security cameras, the kind of place where neighbors minded their own business. Blake left his house at 6 a.m., dressed in a suit, driving a Mercedes. I followed him to a warehouse on the industrial side of town. No cameras here. No witnesses. Just rusted metal and broken glass. He parked, checked his phone, and walked toward the entrance. I moved fast, grabbed him from behind, hand over his mouth, knife to his ribs. Make a sound and I open you up. He froze. I dragged him into the shadows between 2 buildings, shoved him against the wall. You watched a woman die. Streamed live. You remember? His eyes went wide. He nodded. Where's Vargas? I don't know, man. I swear. He doesn't tell us. We just get orders. Who gives the orders? Different people. Messages come through encrypted apps. We never see him. I pressed the knife harder. A bead of blood appeared on his shirt. What about Victor Hale? You know that name. Blake hesitated. That was answer enough. He funds everything, doesn't he? Nightfall Network. The streams. All of it. Blake swallowed hard. Yeah. Hale runs it. But he's untouchable. Private security, lawyers, political connections. You can't get to him. Watch me. I knocked him unconscious and left him in the alley. No killing. Not yet. But he'd wake up knowing someone was hunting him. The second target was harder to stomach. Natalie Kern, a 34-year-old marketing executive from Minneapolis. No criminal record. No ties to cartels or gangs. She watched the stream from her apartment, logged in under a fake username, and paid $200 to vote on the method of execution. Quinn pulled her transaction history. She'd watched 3 other streams before Eliza's. All executions. All for entertainment. I flew to Minneapolis, rented a car, and found her condo in a trendy downtown neighborhood. I waited outside a coffee shop where she stopped every morning before work. She walked in at 7:15, ordered a latte, scrolled through her phone. I sat 2 tables away, watching. She looked normal. Polished. The kind of person you'd pass on the street and never notice. When she left, I followed her to the parking garage. Caught her as she unlocked her car. Natalie Kern? She turned, startled. Do I know you? I showed her a screenshot from the stream. Her username, her payment, her vote. Her face went pale. You watched my wife die? You paid to decide how. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. Why? I asked. What made you think that was okay? Tears welled in her eyes. I didn't think it was real. I thought it was fake. Like a movie. It was real. She was real. And you voted to make it slower. Natalie broke down, sobbing, collapsing against her car. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I wanted to hate her. Wanted to make her suffer the way Eliza suffered. But standing there, watching her crumble, I felt nothing. Just emptiness. The police will get your information soon, I said. When they do, you'll answer for what you did. I walked away, leaving her crying in the parking garage. Over the next week, I visited 12 more. Some were cartel. Some were civilians. Each one gave me pieces of the puzzle. Names, locations, connections. I learned that Nightfall Network wasn't just one platform. It was a web of sites, hidden forums, encrypted channels. Victor Hale was the architect, but he had partners, investors, clients who paid premium prices for custom content. And Vargas? He was just the supplier, the talent, the man who made the shows happen. But Hale was the one pulling the strings. Quinn called me one night, her voice tense. Adrian, we have a problem. Someone else is killing viewers. I sat up. What? 3 deaths in the past 5 days. All on the list. All made to look like accidents, but I ran the patterns. It's not coincidence. Someone's hunting them, just like you. My mind raced. Who? I don't know. But whoever it is, they're good. Professional. No traces, no witnesses. They're covering their tracks better than you are. A chill ran down my spine. I wasn't alone in this. Someone else wanted revenge. Someone with skills. Can you track them? I'm trying. But Adrian, there's something else. One of the names on the list, it's a federal judge. Tristan Lawford. He watched the stream. Paid $500 to interact. A federal judge. That explained why the investigation was moving so slowly. Someone in power had a reason to bury this. Where is he? Washington, D.C. But Adrian, if you go after a judge, you'll never come back from that. You'll spend the rest of your life in prison. I didn't answer, because part of me didn't care anymore. I'd already crossed so many lines. What was one more? But before I could make that decision, I got a message on one of my burner phones. A single line of text from an unknown number. Stop hunting, or you'll be the next one hunted. You're not the only one who wants justice. I stared at the screen. Someone knew what I was doing. Someone was watching me, and I had no idea who they were. The text message haunted me for days. Someone else was hunting. Someone who knew what I was doing, who had access to the same list, who moved with precision and silence. I should have felt relief, someone sharing the burden of revenge. Instead, I felt exposed. Vulnerable. Quinn ran traces on the message. Dead end. Burner phone. Bounced through 3 countries. Untraceable. Whoever sent it didn't want to be found. But they'd left clues. 3 deaths in 5 days. All viewers from the list. A cartel member in Tijuana. Found at the bottom of a ravine. Breaks cut. A businessman in Prague. Apparent heart attack. But Quinn flagged unusual chemical traces in the autopsy report. A programmer in Manila. Drowned in his bathtub. Staged to look like an accident. Professional. Clean. Methodical. I realized I wasn't the only one who'd lost someone to Nightfall Network. And whoever this person was, they were better at covering their tracks than I was. I needed answers. And there was only one place left to look. The warehouse where they held Eliza. Quinn had traced the stream's origin to an industrial zone outside Juarez, Mexico. Abandoned factories, rusted shipping containers, dirt roads that disappeared into desert. The kind of place where screams went unheard and bodies went unfound. I crossed the border using a fake passport, drove through the night, and arrived at dawn. The warehouse sat alone at the end of a gravel road, surrounded by chain-link fence topped with razor wire. No guards. No cars. Abandoned. But this was the place. I could feel it. I cut through the fence and approached on foot, gun drawn, every sense on high alert. The front door hung open, creaking in the wind. Inside, the air smelled like rust and decay. Sunlight filtered through broken windows, casting long shadows across the concrete floor. And then I saw it. The chair. Metal. Bolted to the floor. Dark stains pooled beneath it. Her blood. My legs gave out. I collapsed to my knees, staring at the spot where my wife spent her final moments. The room spun. I couldn't breathe. The walls closed in. I forced myself to stand, to look around, to focus. Cameras mounted in the corners, disconnected now, but they'd captured everything. Tripods, lighting equipment, a folding table with empty water bottles and cigarette butts. They'd set this up like a production. Planned it. Rehearsed it. I found her wedding ring on the floor near the chair. Gold band. Simple, the one I'd slipped on her finger 5 years ago. My hands shook as I picked it up, closed my fist around it. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "I'm so sorry I wasn't here." In the corner, behind a stack of crates, I found a hard drive. Black box, military-grade encryption, carelessly left behind. They thought no one would come looking. They thought this place would stay forgotten. I took it. Outside, I sat in my car, the ring clutched in one hand, the hard drive in the other. I wanted to scream, to burn the warehouse down, to tear the world apart. Instead, I called Quinn. "I found something. A hard drive. Can you crack it? Send me a photo of the serial number. I'll see what I can do." I did. She called back 10 minutes later. "Adrian, this is high-level encryption. It's going to take time. But if there's anything on there, I'll find it." "How long?" 24 hours. Maybe less. I hung up and drove back across the border. That night, I couldn't sleep. I paced my motel room, clutching the ring, replaying every moment. The chair, the blood, the cameras. Quinn called at 3 a.m. Her voice was tight, urgent. I cracked it. "Adrian, you need to see this." "What is it?" "Footage. Unedited. From before the stream. They recorded everything." My heart stopped. "Send it to me." "Are you sure?" It's not easy to watch." "Send it." The file arrived 5 minutes later. I opened it on my laptop, hands trembling. The video started with Eliza being dragged into the warehouse, hands bound, tape over her mouth. She was terrified but trying to stay calm. One of the masked men shoved her into the chair, tied her down. Then Vargas appeared. Older now, graying at the temples, but unmistakable. He crouched in front of her, removed the tape from her mouth. "Do you know who your husband is?" he asked in accented English. Eliza shook her head, tears streaming down her face. "He's a killer. A ghost. He destroyed my family. burned my home, left me with nothing. Please, Eliza sobbed. He's not like that. He's good. Good men don't leave bodies in their wake. Vargas stood, paced in front of her. But you're innocent. You didn't choose him. You didn't know. Then let me go? Please. Vargas smiled. I can't. Because he needs to feel what I felt. He needs to lose everything. Eliza's face crumpled. He'll come for you. He'll find you. I'm counting on it. The video cut to the live stream. Her final moments. The gunshot. But then it kept playing. After the stream ended, Vargas turned to the camera and spoke directly into it, as if he knew I'd see this someday. Adrian Cole, you think you can hunt me? You think you can make this right? You're already too late. I've been 3 steps ahead of you since the beginning. And when you finally find me, you'll realize this was never about revenge. It was about breaking you. The video ended. I sat in the dark, staring at the blank screen. My hands shook. My chest felt hollow. He wanted me to see this. Wanted me to know that Eliza's death wasn't just revenge, it was bait. He was waiting for me, and I was going to give him exactly what he wanted. But first, I had to deal with the other hunter. Because if someone else was tracking the list, they might get to Vargas before I did. And I couldn't let that happen. I sent a message to the burner number that had contacted me. Who are you? Why are you hunting them? The response came instantly. Same reason as you. They took someone I loved. Meet me. Midnight. Crossroads Diner outside Albuquerque. Come alone. I hesitated. This could be a trap. It could be Vargas, luring me into the open. But I had to know. I arrived early, parked across the street, watched the diner through binoculars. At 11:58, a figure entered. Woman, mid-30s, dark hair pulled back, wearing a leather jacket, moving with purpose. I waited 5 minutes, then followed. She sat in the back booth, cup of coffee untouched, eyes scanning the room. When she saw me, she didn't flinch. Adrian Cole, she said. Not a question. I sat across from her. Who are you? Paige. Paige Mercer. My brother was killed 2 years ago. Same network. Same people. They streamed his execution, and nobody did anything. So you've been hunting them. For 26 months. I've eliminated 37 so far. Cartel members, financiers, viewers. Every single one complicit. I studied her. Calm. Controlled. No emotion in her voice. Just cold determination. Why contact me? I asked. Because you're making noise. Drawing attention. If you keep going the way you are, you'll get caught. Or killed. And I need you alive. Why? She leaned forward. Because I know where Victor Hale is. And I can't take him down alone. Paige spread a map across the diner table. Satellite images. Floor plans. Security blueprints. She'd been planning this for months. Victor Hale owns a private compound in Northern California. 200 acres. Armed security. Electronic surveillance. He doesn't leave. Ever. Everything comes to him. Food, supplies, entertainment. I studied the images. High walls. Guard towers. Motion sensors. How many guards? 12 minimum. Ex-military. Well-trained. They rotate shifts every 8 hours. You've been watching him. For 6 months. I've mapped patrol routes, documented every vehicle that enters and exits, even identified the security company he contracts. But I can't do this alone. I need someone who knows how to breach a fortified position. I looked at her. Why should I trust you? Paige's jaw tightened. Because we both want the same thing. Justice. Revenge. Whatever you want to call it. And because if we don't take down Hale, this never ends. Vargas is just one supplier. There are others. Nightfall Network will keep running, keep streaming, keep killing. Unless we cut off the head. She was right. Vargas was personal, but Hale was the architect, the financier, the one who built the platform that turned my wife's murder into entertainment. When do we move? I asked. 3 days. I've already secured equipment, vehicles, weapons. But we need to be smart. No mistakes. No witnesses. I nodded. Agreed. Over the next 72 hours, Paige and I prepared. She operated out of a storage unit filled with surveillance gear, weapons, tactical equipment. She worked alone. No team, no backup, just cold precision. I asked about her brother. She didn't offer details at first, but on the second night, while we reviewed security footage, she spoke. His name was Mason, 23 years old. He was investigating a trafficking ring for his journalism degree. Got too close. They grabbed him off the street in Manila, streamed his execution to prove a point. 2,000 people watched. I reported it to the police, the FBI, Interpol. Nobody did anything. So I did. How many have you killed? 37. Cartel members mostly. A few financiers. One politician who was funding the network. I don't kill civilians. I don't kill people who just watched. I kill the ones who made it happen. I understood. We were different in method, but identical in purpose. The night before the operation, Quinn called. Adrian, there's something you need to know. Federal investigators are closing in. They've connected you to 3 assaults, 2 break-ins, and multiple border crossings. Detective Logan filed a warrant for your arrest. My stomach dropped. How long do I have? Days. Maybe less. They're tracking your movements, cross-referencing with victim locations. If you're going after Hale, you need to do it now. Because once they catch you, it's over. I hung up and stared at the ceiling. I was running out of time. Out of options. We moved at 2 a.m. 2 vehicles, one to approach the compound, one for extraction. Paige drove. I sat in the passenger seat, checking weapons, running through the plan one last time. The compound sat at the end of a private road, surrounded by forest. We parked a mile out and approached on foot, night vision goggles cutting through the darkness. The perimeter fence was 12 feet high, electrified at the top. Paige pulled a device from her pack, signal jammer. She activated it, and the motion sensors went dark. We cut through the fence and moved in. 2 guards patrolling the south side. Paige took the first, silent, efficient, a blade to the throat. I took the second. No gunshots. No alarms. We reached the main house. 3 floors. Reinforced windows. Security cameras on every corner. Paige disabled the cameras with a remote hack, and we entered through a side door. The interior was sterile. White walls, marble floors, modern art. No warmth. No personality. We moved through the hallways, weapons raised, clearing rooms one by one. Empty. Too empty. Then I heard it. Footsteps. Heavy. Multiple. We spun around. 6 guards, rifles raised, surrounding us. And behind them, Victor Hale. Tall. Mid-50s. Expensive suit. Calm. Smiling. Adrian Cole. Paige Mercer. I've been expecting you. My blood turned to ice. He knew we were coming. Drop your weapons, one of the guards ordered. Paige glanced at me. We could fight. Maybe take a few of them down. But we'd die in the process. I lowered my gun. Paige did the same. Hale stepped forward, hands in his pockets. You're both very predictable. Did you really think I wouldn't notice someone tracking my network? Killing my clients? I've been watching you for weeks. Then why let us get this far? I asked. Hale's smile widened. Because I wanted to meet the man who started all of this. The man who created Dominic Vargas's obsession. The man who turned revenge into art. What are you talking about? Vargas didn't come to me with the idea to stream your wife's execution. I came to him. I knew your history. I knew what you'd done to his cartel. And I knew that if I gave him the platform, he'd deliver the perfect show. Rage. Grief. Helplessness. Your pain made Nightfall Network millions. You're the star, Adrian. And you don't even realize it. My fists clenched. You're sick. I'm a businessman. I provide a service. People want darkness. They want to see the worst of humanity from the safety of their screens. I give them that. And you? You're my greatest creation. Where's Vargas? Paige demanded. Hale laughed. Vargas is dead. Has been for 3 weeks. I had him killed once he served his purpose. Too unstable. Too emotional. He was a liability. The room spun. Vargas was dead. My target. My endgame. Gone. But don't worry. Hale continued. You still have a role to play. I'm offering you both a deal. Work for me. Become my next stars. Hunt the people I choose. Stream it. Make me money. Or die right here, right now. Page spat at his feet. Go to hell. Hale sighed. Disappointing. I thought you'd be more pragmatic. He nodded to the guards. They raised their rifles. And then the world exploded. Glass shattered. Smoke filled the room. Gunfire erupted from outside. The guards turned, confused, firing blindly. Page grabbed my arm. Move. We ran, diving through a side door as the compound erupted into chaos. Explosions. Screams. More gunfire. Outside, vehicles roared up the driveway. Federal agents. SWAT teams. Helicopters overhead. Quinn's voice crackled through my earpiece. I tipped off the FBI. Sent them everything. Server data, financial records, client lists. They're raiding the compound. Get out. Now. Page and I sprinted toward the tree line, bullets tearing through the air behind us. We reached our extraction vehicle, jumped in, and Page floored it. As we drove into the darkness, I stared at the compound in the rearview mirror. Flames rising, helicopters circling, agents swarming. Victor Hale was done. Nightfall Network was finished. But I didn't feel relief. I felt empty. Vargas was dead. I'd never get my revenge. Never make him suffer the way Eliza suffered. Page glanced at me. It's not over. There are others. Clients. Investors. People who funded this. I nodded slowly. She was right. The war wasn't finished. It was just beginning. Page drove through the night without stopping. My ribs ached from the compound escape, my hands still trembling from adrenaline. We switched vehicles twice, abandoned the first in a ravine, stole a pickup from a rest stop, switched plates at a truck depot. Standard evasion protocol. By sunrise, we were 3 states away, holed up in a cabin Page owned under a fake name. Off-grid. No power lines. No neighbors for miles. Inside, she booted up a laptop running on battery and satellite internet. Her fingers moved fast across the keyboard, pulling up encrypted files, transaction records, client databases Quinn had helped us steal from Hale's servers before the FBI raid. Victor Hale wasn't lying about one thing, Page said, scanning the data. Nightfall Network is bigger than him. He was just the American branch. There are 6 other operators worldwide. Europe, Asia, South America. All running their own streams, their own content. My chest tightened. How many victims? Thousands. Over the past 5 years. Executions, torture, trafficking. All monetized. All hidden behind layers of encryption and cryptocurrency. I stared at the screen. Names. Locations. Payments. A digital graveyard of suffering turned into profit. We can't stop this alone, I said. No, but we can make sure the people responsible pay, starting with the clients. She pulled up a list, high-level donors who'd spent 6 figures or more on Nightfall streams. Politicians, CEOs, celebrities, people protected by wealth and influence. One name stood out, Judge Tristan Lawford, federal judge. $87,000 in total payments. Watched 43 streams, including Eliza's. He's in Washington, Page said. Protected. Untouchable. Not anymore. Before we could plan our next move, Page's satellite phone buzzed. She answered, listened, her face hardening. When? Pause. Where? Another pause. Understood. She hung up and looked at me. That was my contact inside Interpol. They just found another body. One of the clients. Killed 2 hours ago. Professional hit. Made to look like a car accident. My pulse quickened. Someone's still hunting. Someone with access to the same lists we have. And they're moving faster than we are. I stood, pacing the small cabin. Who? CIA? FBI? Another victim's family. Paige shook her head. I don't know. But whoever it is, they're good. Better than us. They've eliminated 18 clients in 3 weeks without leaving a single trace. A chill ran through me. Someone was out there, operating in the shadows, killing with precision and silence. And they were staying ahead of everyone. Law enforcement. Us. Everyone. We need to find them, I said. Why? They're doing what we want, making these people pay. Because if they're that good, they might know something we don't. About Vargas. About Nightfall. About who else is involved. Paige considered this, then nodded. All right, but how do we find a ghost? I called Quinn. She'd gone dark after tipping off the FBI, but she answered on the first ring. You're alive. Good. Barely. I need your help. Someone's hunting Nightfall clients. 18 kills in 3 weeks. Can you trace their pattern? Silence. Then typing. Give me an hour. 53 minutes later, she called back. I found a pattern. All 18 victims were killed within 24 hours of making a high-value transaction on Nightfall. Whoever's hunting them has access to real-time financial data. That's not just good, that's insider access. Insider? You mean someone from the network itself? Or someone who infiltrated it? My mind raced. Can you trace where they're operating from? No fixed location. They're bouncing through VPNs, satellite connections, burner devices. But I found something else. 3 of the victims received a message before they died. Same message. For words. What words? You should have looked away. The phrase hit me like a punch to the gut. It wasn't about revenge. It was about justice. About holding people accountable for what they witnessed. Send me everything you have on those 3 victims, I told Quinn. Adrian, be careful. Whoever this is, they're not like us. They're not conflicted. They're not hesitating. They're executing a mission. I hung up and turned to Paige. We need to set a trap. How? We leak information. Make it look like we're going after Judge Lawford. If this hunter is monitoring the list, they'll come for him too. And we'll be waiting. Paige's eyes narrowed. That's risky. If they're as good as Quinn says, they'll see through it. Maybe. But it's the only way to draw them out. 2 days later, we were in Washington, D.C. Paige planted false intel through encrypted forums, timestamps, locations, coded messages suggesting we'd identified Lawford's security detail and planned to strike within 48 hours. Then we waited. Judge Lawford lived in a gated estate in Georgetown. High walls, private security, cameras on every corner. He hadn't left his property in 3 days, likely spooked by news of Victor Hale's arrest and the FBI raids. We set up surveillance from a rental across the street, monitored every vehicle that entered or exited, watched for anything unusual. On the second night, at 2:17 a.m., a figure appeared, black tactical gear, moving through the shadows with fluid precision. They bypassed the front gate, scaled the wall, and disabled the security cameras in under 90 seconds. Paige grabbed her rifle. That's them. We moved fast, circled around the back of the estate, staying low, keeping quiet. By the time we reached the perimeter, the hunter was already inside. We followed, through the back entrance, down a darkened hallway. The house was silent except for the faint hum of air conditioning. Then we heard it. A muffled struggle. A gasp. We burst into the study. Judge Lawford sat in his chair, eyes wide, a wire wrapped around his throat. The hunter stood behind him, pulling tight. Paige raised her rifle. Let him go. The hunter froze, slowly released the wire. Lawford collapsed, gasping for air. The hunter turned to face us, pulling off their mask. My heart stopped. It was a woman, mid-40s, sharp features, cold eyes. And I recognized her. Eliza's sister. Harper. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't speak. Harper. Eliza's older sister. The one who'd cut ties with the family years ago. The one we'd lost contact with. Adrian, she said, her voice flat, emotionless. I was wondering when you'd figure it out. What are you doing? What you should have done from the beginning. Making them pay. All of them. Paige kept her rifle raised. You're the one who's been hunting the clients. Harper nodded. 18 so far. And I'm not stopping until every single person who watched my sister die is dead. I stepped forward, hands shaking. Harper, you can't what? Can't seek justice? Can't make them suffer the way she suffered? You were too slow, Adrian. Too careful. Too conflicted. I'm not. This isn't justice. It's murder. Harper's eyes flashed with rage. They murdered her. They sat in their comfortable homes, clicked a button, and watched her bleed out for entertainment. And you want me to show them mercy? I want you to stop before you destroy yourself. She laughed bitterly. I'm already destroyed. Eliza was the only family I had left, and they took her from me. Lawford coughed, trying to crawl away. Harper kicked him back down. Stay, she hissed. Then to us. You can join me. Help me finish this. Or get out of my way. Paige lowered her rifle slightly. Harper, listen. The FBI has the client list. They're making arrests. Prosecutors are building cases. These people will face justice. Legal justice? Trials? Prison sentences they'll appeal and reduce? No. I want them to feel fear. I want them to know what it's like to beg for their lives and have no one listen. I took another step closer. Eliza wouldn't want this. Harper's face twisted with pain. Don't you dare tell me what she'd want. You weren't there. You didn't protect her. The words cut deeper than any blade. You're right, I whispered. I failed her. I failed both of you. But this won't bring her back. Harper stared at me, tears streaming down her face. For a moment, I thought she'd lower her weapon. Then sirens wailed in the distance. Her expression hardened. She raised her gun, pointed it at Lawford. Harper, don't. She pulled the trigger. The shot echoed through the study. Lawford slumped forward, blood pooling beneath him. Harper turned to us. You called the cops. We didn't, Paige said quickly. Someone must have heard the commotion. The sirens grew louder. Harper backed toward the window. I'm not finished. There are 10,000 names on that list, and I'm going to get through every single one. She shattered the window with her elbow and disappeared into the night. Paige and I fled before the police arrived, drove for hours in silence. When we finally stopped at a gas station in rural Maryland, I collapsed against the car. Harper was alive, and she was hunting. The woman I'd known as Eliza's gentle, soft-spoken sister had become something else. Something cold. Something unstoppable. And I had no idea how to stop her. We couldn't go back to the cabin. Harper knew where it was. The FBI was closing in. We were running out of safe places. Paige drove us to a motel in West Virginia. Cash only, no cameras, the kind of place that didn't ask questions. Inside the room, I collapsed onto the bed, exhausted. My body screamed for rest, but my mind wouldn't stop racing. Harper was out there, hunting, killing, and I had no idea how to reach her. We need to find her before she does something we can't undo, I said. Paige sat by the window, watching the parking lot. She's already past that point. She killed a federal judge in front of us. There's no coming back from that. She's Eliza's sister. I can't just give up on her. Then what's your plan? Track her down and talk her out of it? She's not listening, Adrian. She's gone. I knew Paige was right, but I couldn't accept it. Harper was the last piece of Eliza I had left. If I lost her too, I lost everything. Quinn called. Her voice was urgent. Adrian, you need to see this. The FBI raided Victor Hale's compound. They found server rooms, hundreds of live streams archived. Torture, executions, trafficking. But there's something else. A hidden partition on the main server. Financial records showing payments to government officials, law enforcement, even FBI agents. My blood went cold. What are you saying? Nightfall Network had insiders. People in positions of power who were protecting it. That's why investigations went nowhere. That's why victims' families never got justice. The network bought immunity. How high does this go? High enough that the FBI is keeping it quiet. They're scared. If this gets out, it'll destroy agencies, topple politicians, wreck careers. Send me the names. Adrian, send them. A minute later, my phone buzzed. I opened the file. 12 names. Senators. Police chiefs. A deputy director at the FBI. And one name that made my heart stop. Detective Logan. The man who'd been investigating Eliza's case. The man who'd been tracking me. He was on Hale's payroll. I showed Paige the list. She cursed under her breath. This changes everything. If law enforcement is compromised, we can't trust anyone. We don't need to trust anyone. We just need to expose them. How? I thought for a moment. We leak it. Send the files to every major news outlet, every investigative journalist, every whistleblower platform. Make it too big to bury. Paige nodded. Quinn can do that. But Adrian, once we do this, we become targets. Everyone on that list will want us dead. I don't care. They let Eliza die. They let thousands of others die. They don't get to walk away clean. Quinn worked through the night, packaging the files, encrypting them, distributing them through secure channels. By morning, the story broke. Headlines everywhere. Dark web execution network exposed. Government officials implicated. The internet exploded. Social media went wild. Senators scrambled to issue denials. The FBI launched internal investigations. The world finally knew. But it came at a cost. Within hours, our faces were everywhere. Wanted for murder, assault, conspiracy. The FBI issued warrants. Harper's face was on the news too, linked to Judge Lawford's killing and 18 other deaths. We were hunted now. All of us. Paige's phone buzzed. Unknown number. She answered cautiously. This is Harper. Paige put it on speaker. Where are you? Doesn't matter. I saw the news. You leaked the files. Good. Now the world knows. Harper, you need to turn yourself in, I said. Let the system protected them, Adrian. For years. And you think they'll suddenly deliver justice now? No. I'm finishing what I started. There are 10,000 names on that list. You can't kill them all. Watch me. Harper, please. Eliza wouldn't. Eliza's dead. Harper's voice cracked. And you want me to show mercy to the people who watched her die? No. They chose to watch. They chose to pay. They chose to participate. And now they'll pay with their lives. The line went dead. 2 days later, another body. Then another. Harper was moving fast, hitting high-value targets, wealthy clients, prominent names. Each death sent shockwaves through the media. Fear spread. And then she made a mistake. She went after a tech executive in San Francisco, Preston Walsh, one of Nightfall's top investors. But Walsh had hired private security after the leaks. Former special forces. When Harper broke in, they were ready. She killed 3 guards, but took a bullet to the shoulder. Escaped, but left blood behind. DNA evidence. Quinn tracked her to a safe house in Oakland. Paige and I drove through the night. We found Harper in an abandoned warehouse, stitching her wound with a needle and thread, no anesthetic. She didn't flinch when we walked in. Came to arrest me, she asked, not looking up. We came to help you, I said. She laughed bitterly. Help? I don't need help. I need them dead. Paige stepped forward. You're bleeding out. You won't last another week like this. Harper tied off the thread, tested her arm. Then I'll make every day count. I knelt beside her. Harper, I know you're in pain. I know you want revenge. But this isn't sustainable. You're going to die. And when you do, they win. She finally looked at me, eyes hollow. I'm already dead, Adrian. I died the same day Eliza did. I'm just making sure I take as many of them with me as I can. There's another way. The FBI has the files. Prosecutors are building cases. People are going to prison. Prison. Harper spat. They'll get 5 years, maybe 10. They'll appeal. They'll get parole. And they'll go back to their comfortable lives. That's not justice. It's the best we have. Then it's not good enough. She stood, grabbed her weapon. I'm leaving. Don't follow me. Paige blocked the door. We can't let you go. Harper raised her gun. Move. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then I stepped between them. If you want to leave, you'll have to shoot me first. Harper's hand trembled. Tears filled her eyes. Don't make me do this. Then don't. Stay. Let us help you find another way. She lowered the gun, collapsed to her knees, sobbing. Paige and I held her as she broke down, months of rage and grief pouring out. When she finally calmed, she looked at me. What do I do now? We turn ourselves in. All of us. We testify. We make sure the truth gets told. And we let the system try to do what's right. Harper shook her head. They'll lock us up and throw away the key. Maybe, but at least we'll know we tried. She was silent for a long time. Then she nodded. We drove to the FBI field office in San Francisco. 3 fugitives walking into the enemy's arms. Paige stayed quiet the whole drive. Harper stared out the window, her wounded shoulder wrapped tight. I called ahead, asked for Special Agent Morgan Hayes. The one named Quinn said wasn't on Hale's payroll. The only one we could trust. Hayes met us outside. Mid-40s, sharp eyes, skeptical expression. She had 3 agents with her, weapons drawn. Adrian Cole, Paige Mercer, Harper Sinclair. You're all under arrest. We're here to cooperate, I said, hands raised. We have information, evidence, everything you need to finish this. Hayes studied us. You've killed people, broken into federal buildings, obstructed justice. We've done what you couldn't, Harper said coldly. We made them pay. Hayes stepped closer. You think vigilante justice makes you heroes? You've destroyed any chance of prosecuting half these people. Defense attorneys will argue tainted evidence, coercion, illegal surveillance. You've made my job 10 times harder. Then let us testify, I said. Put us on the stand. Let us tell the truth about what happened. Hayes considered this. Finally, she lowered her weapon. Get inside. We'll sort this out. The interrogation lasted 14 hours. They separated us, standard procedure. I told them everything. The stream, the list, Victor Hale, the warehouse, Harper's crusade, the corrupt officials on Hale's payroll. Hayes listened without interrupting. When I finished, she leaned back in her chair. Detective Logan's been suspended. 3 senators resigned this morning. The FBI director personally called to tell me this case is top priority. You've blown this wide open, Cole. But you've also committed felonies. Multiple counts. I know. You'll face charges. Prison time. All 3 of you. As long as they face justice too, I don't care. Hayes studied me. You really loved her, didn't you? My throat tightened. She was everything. 2 weeks later, the grand jury convened. Paige, Harper, and I were granted limited immunity in exchange for testimony. We'd still face charges, but reduced sentences if we cooperated fully. The trial became global news. Cameras outside the courthouse. Protesters demanding justice. Victims' families holding photos of the dead. I took the stand first. Told the jury about Eliza. About the stream. About watching her die while the world clicked and watched. The prosecutor showed the footage, censored, but enough to make the jury understand. Several jurors cried. One had to leave the room. Then they brought in the defendants. 23 people charged so far. Cartel members, financiers, government officials. More arrests coming. The defense tried to paint me as unstable, violent, unreliable. But the evidence was undeniable. Financial records. Encrypted messages. Server logs. Quinn had given the FBI everything. Harper testified next. Spoke about her brother. About the system that failed him. About watching corrupt officials walk free while victims were forgotten. She admitted to killing 19 people. No remorse. No apology. Just cold truth. The courtroom went silent. Paige testified last. Calm. Methodical. She detailed the international network, the operators in Europe and Asia still active, the thousands of victims worldwide. The prosecution rested. The defense scrambled. But the verdict was inevitable. Guilty. Across the board. Cartel members. Life sentences. Financiers. Decades in federal prison. Corrupt officials. Stripped of titles, pensions, freedom. Detective Logan got 15 years. The senators faced separate trials. Victor Hale, arrested during the FBI raid, was convicted on 847 counts. He'd never see daylight again. Our sentencing came last. The judge was an older woman, stern but fair. Paige received 8 years, reduced for cooperation. Harper got 12, lenient given the body count, but the judge acknowledged the trauma that drove her. I got 10 years. As they led us away in handcuffs, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Peace. Not happiness. Not closure. but the knowledge that we'd done something, that Eliza's death hadn't been meaningless, that 10,000 people who thought they could watch horror from the shadows now lived in fear that justice would find them. Quinn sent me a message through my lawyer. The list is public now. Law enforcement agencies in 40 countries are making arrests. It's not over, but it's happening. 6 months into my sentence, I received a letter. No return address. Just a single page with Eliza's handwriting. Something she'd written years ago. A journal entry Harper found in storage. If something ever happens to me, don't let it destroy you. Don't become someone I wouldn't recognize. Find peace. Find purpose. Remember I loved you. I folded the letter carefully and put it under my pillow. She was right. I'd become someone she wouldn't recognize. Violent, ruthless, consumed by revenge. But I'd also made sure the world remembered her name. Made sure her death meant something. And maybe that was enough. Prison wasn't what I expected. It wasn't the violence or the chaos you see in movies. It was the silence. The endless hours of thinking. Remembering. I spent my days in the library, reading anything I could find. At night, I lay in my cell and thought about Eliza. Her laugh. Her touch. The life we'd planned that never came to be. Harper was in a different facility, a women's prison in Pennsylvania. We wrote letters. Short ones at first, then longer. She was seeing a therapist, dealing with the grief she'd buried for so long. She told me she regretted the killing, not because they didn't deserve it, but because it hadn't brought her peace. Nothing brings peace, she wrote. But maybe that's the point. Maybe we're not supposed to forget. Paige was released early, for years instead of 8. Good behavior. She visited me once, told me she was working with victims' advocacy groups, helping families navigate the legal system, fighting to keep corrupt officials from ever holding power again. You started something, she said through the glass. People are paying attention now. The world knows what happened. I nodded, but I didn't feel like a hero. I just felt tired. The trial's aftermath rippled across the globe. Nightfall Network's international branches collapsed. Arrests in 29 countries. Hundreds of viewers prosecuted. Some received prison sentences. Others faced public humiliation, lost their jobs, their families, their reputations. The list became a weapon. Anonymous groups leaked names online. Vigilantes targeted homes. Some viewers went into hiding. Others took their own lives. The world had become judge and jury, and I wasn't sure if that was justice or just more chaos. On the 3rd anniversary of Eliza's death, I received a package. No return address. Inside was a small wooden box. I opened it carefully. Her wedding ring. The one I'd found in the warehouse. Someone had polished it, restored it, placed it on a velvet cushion with a note. She would have been proud of what you did. A friend. I held the ring to my chest and cried for the first time in years. Not from grief. From release. From knowing that somewhere out there, someone understood. The parole board called me in on a cold November morning. I'd served 7 years. 3 left if I stayed clean. Mr. Cole, the chairwoman said, looking over my file. You've been a model inmate. No incidents. You've completed multiple rehabilitation programs. You've helped other inmates learn to read. Why should we grant you early release? I took a breath. Because I've spent 7 years thinking about what I did. I broke the law. I hurt people. And I can't take that back. But I also helped expose a network that destroyed thousands of lives. If you release me, I won't waste the time I have left. I'll make sure Eliza's story, and every victim's story, isn't forgotten. They deliberated for 2 hours. When they called me back in, the chairwoman's face was unreadable. Parole granted. You'll be released in 30 days. I walked out of prison on a Tuesday morning. No fanfare. No cameras. Just me, a duffel bag, and a bus ticket to Denver. Quinn was waiting at the station. She looked older, graying at the temples, lines around her eyes. But she smiled when she saw me. Welcome back to the world, Adrian. We drove to a small apartment she'd rented for me. 1 bedroom. Clean. Quiet. A fresh start. What now? She asked. I looked out the window at the city I used to call home. Now I figure out how to live again. I started a foundation, the Eliza Cole Memorial Fund. We worked to combat human trafficking, fought against dark web exploitation, helped victims' families navigate the legal system. Paige joined as a partner. Harper, still in prison, contributed from inside, writing articles, raising awareness. The work was hard. Some days I wanted to quit. Some days the memories were too much. But every time I thought about giving up, I'd look at the photo on my desk, Eliza on our wedding day, smiling like the world was perfect. And I'd keep going. 5 years after my release, I received an invitation. A ceremony in Washington, D.C. A memorial for the victims of Nightfall Network. Families from around the world gathered to honor those who'd been lost. I stood before the wall of names, 3,847 confirmed victims. And there, near the top, was hers, Eliza Marie Cole. I traced my fingers over the letters, feeling the weight of everything we'd been through. The pain, the rage, the fight. I did what I promised, I whispered. I made them remember you. A hand touched my shoulder. Harper. She'd been released 6 months earlier, thinner, older, but her eyes were clear. She'd be proud, Harper said quietly. I hope so. That night, I returned to the cemetery where Eliza was buried. I hadn't visited in years, couldn't face it. But now, standing before her grave, I felt ready. I placed fresh flowers on the stone and sat down beside it. It's over, I said. Not the way I wanted. Not the way you deserved. But it's done. And I'm going to spend whatever time I have left making sure the world doesn't forget. Making sure it never happens again. The wind rustled through the trees. And for just a moment, I felt her presence. Warm, gentle, at peace. I stood, brushed off my jeans, and walked toward the cemetery gates. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the headstones. I didn't know what tomorrow would bring. Didn't know if I'd ever truly heal. But I knew one thing for certain. Eliza's death had changed the world. And as long as I drew breath, I'd make sure her life, and every life stolen by monsters like Vargas and Hale, meant something. Because that's what love does. It endures. It fights. It refuses to be forgotten. And I would never, ever forget. Now, I have a question for you. Where are you watching this story from? Drop your city or country in the comments. I'd love to know where my listeners are tuning in from across the world. And if this story moved you, hit that like button and subscribe for more gripping thriller and revenge stories that'll keep you on the edge of your seat. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. Also, let me know in the comments, what kind of stories do you want to hear? Family betrayals? Military revenge? Dark secrets? Corporate conspiracies? I'll bring you the exact stories you're craving. Until the next epic tale of betrayal, justice, and revenge, take care, stay strong, and remember, the truth always finds a way.